All right, Rob. It's time to wrap it up. Do you have an RVDology this week?
I do. I
All
do.
right.
And I've been enjoying the feedback that I get more and more from either YouTube comments or people telling me when they see me at the signings or whatever. It's great when people go out of their way to tell me, like, dude, you don't know how much I needed that, or that really helped me at a time when I needed it, or anything like that, man. That goes so far with me because that's my intention. That's how I'm inspired to do it, is only by reaching people that could benefit from hearing it. Otherwise, I'm wasting my time and I'd rather not do it.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah. Um, Last week we talked about, let's see, we were talking about
Proud, being proud, pride and proud. Yeah.
yeah, yep,
Uh-huh.
yep. So let me for anybody that wasn't here, I just like to sum it up. I was last week we were talking about being proud and pride that's installed in you, and my ideology is you need to keep that in check. I think it gets way out of control. I think that I mean, let's everybody wants to be part of something positive. Everybody wants to join something and a group that's a winner. That's why we have pride over the stupidest things that we really shouldn't. I
Yeah.
mean, get a group of people and say, "Hey, people whose name begin with the letter A are the best." Yeah,
Team
yay,
A.
cool. Like, really, what are you taking pride in, and what does that mean? So I was saying it should mean that you're at least as good as everyone else. Because if it means that you're better than everyone else and you're installing pride over every little fact that just happens to circumstantially be part of somebody's being, then you're really building that person up to be confused about their perspective, their relationship with the universe, and really their status overall. Because you, you don't have to be overly proud of everything over stuff you didn't do. That's not saying you should be ashamed, and it's not just being proud and then being ashamed, but it's like, keep it in check. And I said this, I said, we're all biased in a way to where we think that our values, our decisions are the best. We
Mhm.
always, that's why every argument is like, why did you go that way? Or why did you say that instead of this? Because you made a decision that I didn't make, so it confuses me. And if you don't believe me that you're biased, let me put it to you in the most basic equation I can think of for the basic thinkers, okay? When it comes to survival, all right, there's just you're a fucking caveman, and there's another caveman, and you're the only two people on the planet. One of you is going to die. You're about to fight to death. Do you care who wins? You
Of
do.
course you do. Yeah.
Survival is the first instinct for a basic thinkers. It's also our first bias, is like, whatever we're going to do to protect our longevity and keep ourselves living, we're going to do that. So that's just on the basic level. Did any of that pride happen to wreak its way into your week?
It sure did. So like this week, I am after as if people are hearing this on Premier Streaming Network right now, today was my last day at Inside the Ropes. I
Ooh.
yeah, so
Na, na, na,
again,
na. Mm.
it ended positively, like no negative terms or anything like that. It just things were changing for them, and I had to move on, and so it makes sense. Now I could take that from a pride aspect. It's like, oh man, that hurts to not no longer be there, to not kind of aspect. Like, what is there something that I caused to have that happen, or for me to move on? Look at myself in a certain way like that. But and it can hurt. It can kind of hurt my pride at certain points. But it's also you think about it. It's just like that's the name of the game, especially in like the freelance writing business. Is like things happen, things change, and aspects change, and you know, you don't. I don't necessarily look at it as like something that hurts my pride. And me moving on to me knowing this as the week has gone on, like I still wanted to take pride in the work that I did and put it out through any articles that I wrote or anything like that. And so I kind of made that connection in a lot of ways, especially thinking about it today, where I was like, wow, you know what? You know, I could have like just been like, well, screw this, I'm leaving. But no, I liked who I worked with. I liked, my boss. I liked everything of the job, and we ended on good terms. And I wanted to make sure I ended on good terms. So
Cool.
pride was a big aspect of it this week. So yeah,
Cool. Well, you should be proud of the way you handled that.
thanks, Rob.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Cool,
cool.
dude.
All right. Well, what do you got for us this week on RVDology?
I mentioned, that we judge. We judge all the time. And, you know, there's an expression, it's a disclaimer really, that a lot of people say, and it's I don't judge. But really, everybody judges. If you say I don't judge, I think maybe you mean I'm not going to hold it against you. I'm not going to punish you for it by treating you any differently. But I don't judge. Of course you do, because as I said, we're biased towards our own values. So when we hear that somebody else does something that's different than we do, we automatically judge them. It's like a self operating brain mechanism that we don't even try to do. You go by a dude on the sidewalk that says, hey man, you got $5 so I can get some gas? And you look at him, it looks like he hasn't changed his clothes in days. I mean, you can tell yourself that you're not judging that person to try to feel better about yourself, but I feel like it's superficial. At least that's my ideology on this whole subject. Is I come to terms with I do judge. We all judge, and that's normal. It's normal to judge, but we judge on such an inner level um, place that we don't have to share it unless we're like stupidly overly honest like me and feel like sharing the deepest thoughts when they're coming together, because I like to share insight. But opinions, everyone's opinions, we're going to judge. Are you telling me like I don't judge, really? So you mean if you hear like, hey, my cousin's going along on the trip with us, I hope you don't mind, but he's a child molester. You're gonna say, oh no, I don't judge. I doubt it. He's a he's a murderer and he does he likes to shoot meth like round the clock, so mostly he won't be much of a problem. But no, you're gonna judge. The further it is away from your decisions and your choices, the more you're gonna judge. And doesn't mean that you're gonna fine them, criminalize them, uh, anything like that. But in the court of your mind, if you hear anything, if you hear so and so was a bully at school and got in trouble for bullying at school, you might automatically, in the court in your mind, judge that person like, oh, that person's a bully. But it's only the court of your mind, so don't give it too much because you don't know all the facts. The case hasn't been presented. There's been no trial. You don't know. There's maybe she just used some certain words and they define that as bullying. I don't know. I know when I was a kid, we said all kinds of stupid, whatever was hurtful stuff. You know, make fun of the really poor kids for being poor. Ah, you can't even take a bath. You gotta go to the Y Center. That's not really that funny now as an adult. But as kids, you do stupid things like that. But you know what? I was also judging them. I was judging them for being poor. So the older that I've gotten, the more I'm alive, the more experienced I am, and the more that I share my ideology with everybody, I can be comfortable saying that's something to just get a grip on. Don't tell yourself that you don't judge. I mean, come on. Your neighbor wants to borrow your phone. You never met this motherfucker before. He looks shady as fuck. What are you gonna do? You're gonna say, "Oh, I don't judge. Here you go." You know, we judge what you do with that judgment. Now that's up to you. Damn, that's a whole nother subject. But you do make a judgment. Um, Sometimes you're afraid that you're being judged when you're being asked a question. And so you don't even answer the right question. You answer something else because you think you're being judged for it. You know what I mean? Say a question is, I don't know, just trying to think of an example. Say someone asks, like, are you gonna wear those shoes tonight? And the person automatically it thinks they're being judged. So instead of saying yes or no, they're gonna wear those shoes, they're like, they're the only ones I have. Or they're like, all my other shoes are out or whatever. Whoa, whoa. I just wanted to know if you were bringing those because if you're bringing them, I'll pack them. You know what I mean? Like totally like you have a different meaning now because you're afraid that you're being judged by the question and you're trying to find the intention and the meaning of the question based on being judged. And really you might not even be. That's an example of not having all the information, you know. Were you there last night? Simple question. I'm just curious if you were there last night. Maybe I want to know because I'm going to ask you if you saw so and so, whatever. But then if you're like, well, what was I supposed to do? Wait around for you all night? Boom, boom, boom. Hey, hey. That's being afraid of being judged. That's extra sensitivity to being judged. When in fact, you got to be open. Katie and I have a rule, pretty much an unwritten rule. No question is too stupid. She can, and you know, if either one of us either makes fun of the other one, that's just say, hey, we can ask anything, and then it's like, oh yeah, you're right. And I don't judge like why she's asking me for, you know, let's say I'm on my phone or whatever, and and she can't see what I'm looking at on my phone. I'm sliding through, and she says, "This is an example." But say if she were to say, you know, like, "What are you looking at?" Like, I wouldn't automatically be like, "Ah, she doesn't trust me," you know, like she thinks that I'm looking at other. But you know, I've been in other relationships where there's no trust, and that would be behind every single thing that was said. So I get where you can like feed into that vibe, but it's one of those things where, as I always say, it's best to have no expectations. You know, if she says, "What are you looking at?" Boom, I'll just show her. You know, look at these baby otters or whatever it is. Yeah, and then you know, thereby removing suspicion, but also keeping the floor open so that we don't ever have to feel funny about asking any kinds of questions for whatever reason. We don't have to worry about being prejudged with our answers. We can just be open about it, and that's important to me. You know, you don't know all the facts. It's not a real case. Like I said earlier, when New Jack said, I hope he buried right now, and I hope worms eating his eyeballs." I absolutely judged him. I didn't know him that well. That was one of the only times up till that point for sure that I'd been alone with him and stuff. So of course, that was almost my entire opinion based on that. That and the new what's that transit incident, whatever they called it at the
Oh,
Greyhound.
mass transit or the yeah.
There was that, you know, which I was in the dressing room then, and he was screaming in the dressing room afterwards. Good. I hope he die. I hope he die about a kid that he had just gaffed. You know, I judged him by that too. So I'm not gonna lie, I did judge him. You know, in the end, in the big picture, I also judged him on some other things because I got to talk to him, got to know him, hang out with him a few times, see him on a different level, and you know, communicate as a peer in the same industry. And so I use a lot of that to judge him on as well. And a lot of that offsets some of the thoughts that I had put in my mind before, or that I had allowed in my mind before, mistake or not, you know. But you never have the whole information, you never have the whole big picture. You There's always more that you don't know. You always know a lot less than there is to know about everything and everyone. And you know, keep all that in mind. And when it comes to judging, dude, you judge. If you want to keep your judgments to yourself, I'm cool with that. But between you and I, we all judge.
100% we do, you know? And that it's almost like an instinctual thing that happens in a lot of ways because you just see something and then, okay, that's how I feel about it. But I think it's another layer of thinking about it being like, well, I just don't know the whole picture of this situation or that person or whatever it may be. And like, I'm making this judgment based on maybe what somebody else is saying or just under this kind of first impression aspect of it too. So it's like definitely be cognizant of that. Yeah.
Keep it in check. Don't be so quick to throw the gavel down on your judgment.
Hmm.
But be aware, that it's not a bad thing to judge somebody. Get your opinion on them. To hold that judgment against them, well, that's circumstantial and subjective, just like everything else.
Right. And you said it mentioned like somebody like a bully. Oh, this guy was a bully. Or this person was a bully. Well, heck, like when were they a bully? Was that in high school? They could have totally changed at that point in time. It's like can't just go by some of that stuff sometimes.
Word.
Word up, man. So cool. Guys, if you like what you're seeing, you can check it out early on the Premier Streaming Network every Friday at 4:20 p.m. But you can check us out anywhere, anytime, starting Monday at 4:20 p.m. too. That's when it drops on the podcast feed. If you guys like what you're hearing, give us some ratings on I never plug this, so give us some ratings on iTunes, on Apple iTunes. Write a good review for us if you like what you're hearing. Check us out on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast, but you can get the clips up at rvdpod.com. Like and comment on there. Share with your friends. Share with your enemies. Do it all you can.
Share with people you meet over the next week.
People you meet, even if they're non-wrestling fans, say, hey, we got a good guy on here. He's a pro wrestler, and he gives us some good advice. It's Rob Van Dam. Check out rvdpod.com.
Let's talk about doing a live show pretty soon, because my YouTube page has over the goal of 30,000.
Oh, so we're over 30,000 now. Nice.
Yeah. So
hell yeah.
let's
Okay.
talk about that real soon.
Yes, we'll have to definitely do that. So you can follow Rob there at The Real RVD. You can follow me at Dominic D'Angelo. And hey, guys, thanks for joining us this week. It's been a fun one. Episode 22 is in the books. I can't wait to see it's episode 23 next week, Rob.
Boom.
Boom.
All right. Thanks, Tom. Talk to you next week.
Heck yeah. See you guys next week.
Excellent.